Hello and welcome to this episode of Navigating the Waters, where I'm joined again by our fabulous host, the founder and CEO of River VC, Stephanie Mckinney. Hi,
Hello,
Stephanie. How are
Kate.
you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How was your 4th of July?
It was great. It was filled with adventure and fun, spending the day by the pool.
Oh, nice. I'm not at all jealous much, but I have a pool here.
Yeah.
And today we're joined by a fabulous guest. Can you tell us more, please?
Yes, we are joined today by the CEO and co-founder of iFlip, and he has come to join the cohort of Navigating the Waters to share his story, share his problems and triumphs over creating a business and being an entrepreneur and creating this wonderful technology that is iFlip. So Randy, please introduce yourself and tell us, who you are, where you've been, and what you're doing right now.
Thanks, Stephanie. Appreciate it, and super happy to be here. It's an awesome show you put on. My name is Randy Tate. I am the CEO and one of the co-founders of iFlip. And iFlip, for those that don't know, is an acronym. It's the Financial Learning Information Platform. And we've built the world's first AI-driven, automated trading mechanism for the average person to invest in the stock market. That's where I'm at today.
That's crazy. I mean, I would love to dive into that, but what led you to creating iFlip?
It's an interesting journey. I've my background, my master's degree is in education. My background is I was a high school football and wrestling coach and teacher. And I often joke that I learned everything I know about running companies as a high school freshman football coach. If you can coordinate a bunch of 13-year-old boys into unified action, you can pretty much coordinate anything. But that's not for the entrepreneurial stuff. So after teaching for 9 years, I got to the point where I'm not going to make any money. I do live in California. So as you can imagine, being 8-9 years into your profession, and many people that are listening to this have probably been in this kind of a boat where you're maxed out. I was maxed out on the pay scale and just over $75,000. That's it. That's all you're worth in California as a school teacher. It's a little more now because that's a few years ago, but still it's all relevant. And with what's going on in the world, they're not making any more money today than I was then. And so I said, what am I going to do? What do I know how to do? Well, let's figure out a way to go make some money. So I literally, when you talk about jumping or just taking a wild leap of faith, I just grabbed a person that I knew that I bought my sporting goods equipment from, said, that sounds like a good idea. I have some ideas of how it could be better. And we started a company. Literally in April, I resigned as a teacher, effective at the end of the school year. And June 1, we started. So then, we just built a whole bunch of new systems, methodologies around selling and things that I didn't know because I didn't have a formal business education. But I had relationships with lots of coaches and athletes. And by the time we were done, 4 years later, we were doing over $5 million in top line revenue and had significant contracts with some of the biggest universities, even some of the pro teams, right down to little leagues. And we changed the way that the industry was functioning out here in the West Coast, which led me to my first acquisition, a company called Chalet. Unfortunately, they're not here anymore. At the time, though, they were, for those of you on the East Coast, they were a West Coast version of Dick's. Giant sporting goods chain, multi-billion dollars, publicly traded, lots of money, doing really well. And they were trying to penetrate the market that we had owned in Northern California, and they couldn't do it. And so it was an interesting experience. CEO says, Randy, what's going on? We like what you're doing, and we're going to buy you. Literally like that. So you got to remember, Stephanie, my initial understanding of how you either raise money or go get acquired was that easy. I'm like, oh, that should be easy. Should be able to do that multiple times, right? Not always that easy. So that led me to those guys. I had a 5-year contract with them. I had to stay with them for 5 years, helping implement many of the systems and operational procedures that we had created at Game Day. that led me to the same time I really wanted to get back to teaching and educating. So I started going around educating small businesses, working with many of the known speakers around the speaker world. And I've spoke on stages all over the world, teaching and educating small businesses how to get going. I've created my own little system of, 7 functions of a business that all businesses must do. And then the 5 steps within those 7 functions and how to get yourself from, brand new solopreneur up to corporation or acquisition. And so I started building that out and teaching it. And we ended up with a client called Infusionsoft. You may have heard of them. They're called Keep now. They are not a small company. And they were doing about 100 million, and they ended up offering me and my business partner in that venture called Growth Choice. We were, educating literally everyone from Fortune 500 type of executives on language, leadership, those types of things. And we took them through just a different kind of a journey, a different kind of the way they see the world and how they're getting their employees to work, not just for them, but with them. And Infusionsoft, like what we were doing so much, they offered us jobs, executive positions there at the company. And I was shockingly, I was vice president there in charge of all customer education, training, and internal leadership. So that was what I started doing at Infusionsoft. So that was exit number 2. So then we got into I got into that grind for about 4 years, 3-4 years. And then I met my current business partner now, Kelly Korshak. He was retired, former risk manager for Global Deutsche Bank. Pretty smart dude. Went to, Stanford's physics program when he was 16 years old, things like that. And managed billions of dollars around the world. So over some, beers and chicken wings over the course of 2016, we kind of hatched the idea. And then in 2017, I left Infusionsoft and started this machine that's been running ever since. And so I try to put all the things I've learned into practice, try to practice all the stuff I've ever taught. It's not always as easy as it sounds. I've done a lot of that on both sides of the fence. And then I do real estate and other things on the side. But for the most part, the last 4 years, I've been committed to getting Flip into a position to become ubiquitous around the investing space. And, that's a short 8-minute condensed version of my entrepreneurial journey. But it did start, like I said, started as a simple high school teacher and a football coach. So that's the simple version.
I love that. So interesting to see how you were able to take the skills learned in one arena and then replicate them in another. Because so often we convince ourselves, don't we, that our skill set, our knowledge base is industry specific, or it's sector specific, or any of those things, any of those self-limiting beliefs to say, well, why would I be credible in this other space? Because actually I can't prove it in the traditional way of saying I came through the ranks and I did all the qualifications. But you've clearly shown time and time again that you can take those base skills, those, if I've understood it correctly, those people skills, that ability to be able to get people to align to a common purpose and then work hard to achieve it, and show the brilliance of being able to do that and the success that you come at the other side.
Yeah, Kim, it's interesting. One of the things I've learned, like I said, I have no formal business education. I literally taught myself how to use Excel to create my own thing. And you find out later, there's this thing called QuickBooks that does it for you. Literally, I was doing the taxes off of my first company myself because I was saving money because I didn't want to spend any money. And I was doing it on a borrowed copy of TurboTax. So when I figured that out and I got a real accountant, the real accountant went back on our books, and through that whole acquisition, I ended up getting like $75,000 back in taxes that I had just already paid that didn't think I needed to pay. So there's fundamental things to learn. But to your point, business leadership and entrepreneurialism is agnostic to this type of business. It doesn't matter. I don't know anything about developing software, and I know a little bit about it, but I'm not a software engineer. I also, prior to this endeavor, knew nothing of the stock market and how it works. I know quite a bit now, but at the time when we started it, I didn't. We went into Infusionsoft. I didn't know anything about CRM systems. I didn't know how those things work. But it doesn't matter. It's the same. It's the skill set of what you want to do. And one thing for entrepreneurs in particular, as they get started, they always want to, go 1,000 miles an hour and do everything tomorrow. It does take time. There's no question about it. But there are some fundamental things that everybody has to do. You got to sell something, and you got to be able to market whatever it is you're selling. And when you start having that conversation, a lot of entrepreneurs don't want to sell. I just want to help people. Well, the way you can best help people is by selling your thing, your widget, and get it out to the world. And if your widget's any good, the world will adopt it only if you send the message. And that's the nature of the entrepreneurial game. You got to be able to do that. And then at some point, you must be able to scale beyond yourself. One of the exercises I would always have young entrepreneurs do is I would have them build out revenue models that did not include them doing anything or making any money. Don't include yourself. Build the machine without you in it, and then you're the gravy. So if you can do that, it's a hard exercise, believe it or not, because they want to pay themselves. They want to get paid right now. So it's just small little things like that are they're agnostic to business type. The widget doesn't matter.
Yeah, I agree. In one of our episodes previous to this one, we talked about building out your ideal customer and knowing who they are, knowing what they want to build, because you did not have the knowledge prior to doing the iFlip, but then you knew that something was wrong in the process, and this is what the people need. So how would you say for entrepreneurs starting out, for founders starting out, to build out that customer diagnostic, to build out that customer demographic?
Yeah, it's critical, Stephanie. You have to know who you're selling to and who you're serving. And first and foremost, what problem you're solving, the way you just said it. What is the problem? Is there a problem? And if there is, how do I solve it? And it doesn't mean that you can't be, and also there's, Netflix was first, but now there's plenty of streaming services, but there's no more Blockbuster, right? So they found a problem. They solved it. Now other people are going to do it too. We think we're doing the same thing at Flip. That's our opinion, at least, that we do. And one of the simple fundamentals that we talk about, if you talk about entrepreneurs with a big vision that want to disrupt, right? That's where they all start. They want to change the world. Great. Love it. One of four things has to happen. Every one of us markets in one of just a small handfuls of ways. We either beat our chest and tell the world we are better than what currently exists than your other options, or we're less expensive than your current options, right? That's another marketing thing. I cost less. The other thing is simplicity of use, of user interface. Whatever the widget is, not just tech. People like the big red easy button. Everybody wants the easy button. And so if you think about the easy button, okay, so there's three. You're better, you're easier to use. And those are the things you really talk about. But if you can do all of them, if you can actually do all of them, if you can outperform for a smaller price with an easier to use interface, heck, just those three alone are enough to take you wherever you want to go with it. And we'll talk later on other conversations, but I've got some diagrams that show that when you can do all three, you can disrupt. You can truly disrupt an entire industry if you can do all three.
One of the big things that businesses have been looking at probably in the last 15 years, isn't it, is reducing customer effort. So how do we make sure that when we're thinking about designing our processes, when we're thinking about designing our systems, that we think about it from the position of the customer instead of what used to happen, which is you think of it from the pain point of the company. It's like, I need it to do this so that I can get where I want faster. We've now realized the control is within the customer's hands, isn't it? So we've got to make it easy for them to do, intuitive for them to be able to navigate.
Yeah, that's a key word, Kim, that intuitiveness for the customer. If you have to work really hard to show the customer that there's something, then you're going to have a bigger uphill battle. You know, if you don't have to work hard and it just automatically occurs to them, then it'll be perfect. So that's a big thing. That's a really big thing to be able to do, creating that dynamic of ease of use. Ease of use is huge.
Exactly. And that's what iFlip does with its AI. So we would love to hear a little bit more, not all of it, because we are going to have you back on doing a pitch deck. So a little bit more on what you have done to help that ease, to help that customer be able to just, that easy button that you're talking about. Literally, you have that easy button in your iFlip program.
Yeah, we do. And we literally set out to do, like I said, you know, we set out to do the 3 that I mentioned plus 1 more. We set out to be better from the very beginning. What do you mean by that? That means we will outperform the market. That's what better is for in our industry. So people like that. We want to do it by exposing people to less risk. See, people, there is an education process though, because people, they only ask return. I get this question all the time: how did the software perform, and how are its returns? Well, those are not the accurate question. And this will be a good one for you, Stephanie, because risk to return ratio is very important. So if I only played roulette and I only played one hand and I happen to win, and somebody asks me, what are my returns? They're great. It's the best game ever. Everybody can get rich. All you got to do is go over there and throw your coin on the little one of the squares and you win a whole bunch of money. Easy. Super easy to use. It sounds great, but that's not relative, or there's no correlation to the risk. And so we say we want to perform better than the market with less risk than actually owning the market. That's a little different. So that is what we do. In a very simple to use interface, I can teach somebody that knows nothing about technology or the markets how to set up and run the software in 15 minutes. It is that easy. And we are exponentially less cheaper than any other form of money management system out there or human out there that's available. So in a real short nutshell, without details, I don't want to jump in because I know we're going to talk later. We just want to be better, easier, with less risk, and cost less.
Exactly. With all that in mind, all those goals to hit, what do you think your biggest challenge was in achieving that?
You know, the biggest challenge that we have had as a company is the normal occurrence between Kelly and I. You know, we're really good friends now, along with business partners, but we see the world very differently. We come from different backgrounds, like all of us do, but he and I came from literally the other side of the tracks. You know, he's a Stanford guy that went and got graduate degrees at the University of Chicago. He's got all the proper pedigrees, worked at the biggest and best institutions in the world, understands the stock market as good as anybody. I went to a state college, got a teacher degree, and I'm a football coach. I see the world very differently than he sees the world. I was raised on a farm. He was raised in inner city Chicago. So we see the world different. So the biggest hurdle for us, and most people's hurdles in business, is helping themselves align their occurrence to someone else. So I've worked really hard to understand the world Kelly comes from. And Kelly's done a really good job of working hard to understand the world I come from. And when you can do that, it's not just walk a mile in my shoes. That's a nice, metaphor, but it's more than that. It's actually developing an understanding to do that. And the one simple trick to do that, the way I've taught it to lots of executives at high levels, is to don't be right. Refuse the urge to be right. We all want to be right. We just can't help it. It's natural. So the hurdle of being right is painful. It is a hard one to overcome. And so I've developed a little trick I teach people. So I'll share it with you and all your listeners. Anytime somebody says something to you that you immediately go, that's not right, whether it's that carpet's blue and it's really red, or you got a family dispute, or they're 5 years old, doesn't matter. Every single time go, that's interesting. Change it from that's not right to that's interesting. And then switch right into, I'm really curious as to how they see it that way. And then seek to understand. Doesn't mean that you're going to agree with them. The carpet could still be blue in your mind, but now you can dig in and really get an understanding of how they see it. Then you can make your own decision as to whether or not you agree, disagree, or want to move along. If you immediately knee jerk to right, it's a problem. It's a big problem. And I watch so many people do it. I mean, I've had conversations. I don't know if this is a proper venue to throw someone under the bus like this. It's not a human, but I was chatting with a venture capital person about our software. They asked what our returns were. I explained what our returns were correlated to the risk, which they didn't ask. And then they said, well, why don't you just make a hedge fund? You could probably make $1 million. That's probably what you should go do. Literally dismissed everything, just immediately had an idea right down the path of, I've got an idea, you should do this. Should's a really bad word. Shooting on people is not good. People don't like that. It doesn't feel well. So biggest challenge, aligning occurrences and getting everybody on the same page and fighting that urge to be right.
Yeah, I love it.
Sorry, I was going to say, it's so insightful. In fact, I was actually giving a speech on just that today, which is swap judgment for curiosity, whether that's of the other person or of yourself. Why do I think that? Why am I saying this? Why are you thinking that? What do you see that I don't see? Because once you're no longer wedded to being right, everything else becomes so much easier, doesn't it?
It is. And it's being right is such a problem for all of us, every one of us. I'm just as guilty. I do it all the time. I catch myself doing that, especially if you think you know more about some particular topic than somebody else. If you think you know more and then you dismiss their occurrence, you can eliminate the whole fresh eyes concept. And if you eliminate that, you're going to be in a rut. You're going to be stuck.
Yeah, when you said, choose curiosity, my mind automatically went to like more of a toddler state of mind and being that mentality of, oh, it's not a couch, it's a boat now. And you're like, oh yeah, it could be a boat. And having that child mentality is what is going to help founders like achieve what they want, because they're not going to see the problems. They're going to see more creative ways to overcome them, more elaborate plans, more, that toddler plays and plays and plays by themselves for hours, and they can just be in a whole new world. And I think that's what a lot of founders lack, is that, oh, this has to get done this way, this has to get done this way, and if it doesn't, then I have to go back and figure out another way to get it back to that point. But if it's just more lucid, more ability to have that creativity and that curiosity to try it again or try it a different way. And that's what makes founders entrepreneurs.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll find those that struggle are the ones more committed to being right. Yeah, they will struggle when they do that.
Because they're not opening their mind, are they? It's like we use labels on ourselves all of the time. And I talk about this with my little girl. One of the most powerful words I think there is in the language is the word yet. When she says, I'm not good at this, I would be like, I'm not good at this yet. I'm not good at colouring. I'm not good at colouring yet. Just add the word yet to it and you open up a different part of your mind to be able to seek the possibilities for you to get better at it, instead of giving yourself such a concrete, I either am good at this or I'm not good at this, which I think also stifles us as human beings, doesn't it? And stifles our creativity.
Absolutely. And it stops our ability to learn. The minute we're right, we stop learning. And the minute we stop learning, we stop growing. So
yeah, it's as simple as that. And you've shown that you don't stop learning, that you have gone from being a PE teacher to multiple companies, now iFlip, and whatever your future holds after that, we're very excited to see and to learn. But I would like to have you back to do your pitch deck
Yep.
for iFlip. And so our audience can follow your journey. We're also going to have you back later in the series to hear how you're doing. We're not just going to hear your pitch deck and then be done with you. We're going to have you back to make sure that we're following and we're understanding what it is like to be an entrepreneur.
Excellent. I'm excited to do it.
I love it. It's been so insightful. Randy, I could chat to you all day. I'm looking forward to the fact we get to chat to you again and go through your pitch deck. And Stephanie, as always, it's been an absolute delight. So for people watching, please do let us know what you'd like to hear us talk about, what areas you'd like us to delve into to help you on your learning journey, because we're all learning. But with this platform that Stephanie's created, we have an opportunity to learn together. So please let us know. Like, follow, subscribe, tell your friends. And if you're an entrepreneur and you want to come here and share your journey, your learnings, your lessons, and your tips, then please do let us know. We would love to have you sit where Randy sits today and share your insight with us too.
Yes, thank you everyone for listening, and please stay tuned as we continue not only Randy's journey, but Kim and Gigi's and more founders that are going to pop up on Navigating the Waters. So do subscribe, because this is going to be a lifelong learning and curiosity journey.
Thank you all. Till next time.
Thank you guys for joining, and I'll see you guys next time.
Take care.